Welcome to the NRSNG.com podcast, the podcast created by nurses for nurses. Are you ready to take your learning to the next level? Sit back and crank up the volume. Here's your host, John Haas.
So I'm incredibly excited today because I got to sit down and talk with NurseMurse himself, Mr. Patrick, over at youtube.com/NurseMurse. He's a nursing student who also has a video blog over on YouTube, providing just tremendous amount of value to nursing students with videos that teach students how to study, how to prepare for nursing school, and how to succeed in nursing school. So this is an awesome podcast. I connected with Patrick a couple months ago, and we got to know each other, and I really wanted to have him on the podcast because I think he's going to help you guys out tremendously as we get back to school. But before we start that, I wanted to let you guys know about a tremendous, huge sale that we're having over at NRSNG.com/back-to-school. And over there you can find, we're giving away several of our books up on Amazon, and we have the app RN Crush deeply discounted, and you can find all that over at NRSNG.com/back-to-school. Okay, so make sure you check that out and enjoy this podcast, and then head over there to NRSNG.com/back-to-school to find out about all the different sales we have going on. And you guys, I want you to have a ton of success this semester, and I really think this podcast episode is the best way we can help you get back to school so you can demolish this semester and do well. So enjoy this episode with me and NurseMurse. All right, so today I'm here with NurseMurse, Patrick. He's a YouTube nursing student who's in his second semester, and he's providing just a ton of knowledge for nursing students. And we connected maybe about 2 months ago, and I could tell just by watching his videos that he was going to be providing an enormous amount of value for students as they go through nursing school. So why don't you introduce yourself, Patrick, and tell us about you and tell us about your channel.
Well, hey guys, I'm NurseMurse, and I'm from Colorado, Fort Collins, and I don't know, I just wanted to start a YouTube channel about nursing because I saw that there was a lot of other nursing students up on YouTube, and I really benefited from the videos. So I thought it'd be good to contribute and help kind of build the community on there. But
right on. So when you started your channel, were you planning just to make it kind of diary, or were you hoping to kind of grow it into like a bigger resource for students and things? What was your goal, I guess?
I don't know. I guess with my first video it was going to be more kind of like a diary. But then I made a video about my process on getting into nursing school, and it kind of like answered the question of how to get into nursing school. So it did fairly well, like in comparison to my other videos. So I started making videos that kind of answered questions about nursing school, along with the blogs. So it's kind of just like to help people, but also to like keep track of my journey so I can one day like go back and look at it and see, you know, where I've come from and stuff.
No, that's great. Yeah, that's great. I mean, I'm looking at your channel now. It looks like the nursing prerequisite video has about 4,000 views. That's awesome.
Yeah, I was happy about it. I wasn't expecting it to like help people really.
Yeah, no. And I think, I mean, with my own, like working as a nurse and talking to people wanting to get into nursing school, I think that's the biggest question people have is like, is it even possible, you know? Because you hear these nightmare stories about how impossible it is to get into nursing school. So
yeah, I definitely heard all of those. Yeah, myself. And I mean, it's definitely possible for sure. It's not as hard as everyone says, but it's kind of hard.
What would be your biggest suggestions to someone wanting to go to nursing school and hearing all these impossible stories? What would you tell them?
I think, you know, like if you want to be a nurse and you feel like you're supposed to be, like life's calling you in that direction, and you just like get obsessed with your classes, like I think everything just kind of works out. Like in my prerequisites, I accidentally signed up for an accelerated anatomy and physiology. Like I didn't even mean to do it.
Yeah.
But I got there the first day, and like they were saying, you know, the pace, and I was kind of freaking out because I had like never really gone to college at that point. So I ended up not being able to switch out of the class, but it ended up being a blessing. I felt like I was like supposed to be in that class because I just got like obsessed, and I was able to finish a semester earlier, my prerequisites.
That's awesome.
So I got in the program faster.
So at that point, were you planning on going to nursing school, or was it kind of like an accident that you even took the course? Or
No, I was planning on going to nursing school, but I did it later. Like I went to community college when I was like 18, 19.
Sure.
And I just wasn't like ready for like the pace of school, and then just went back and then was able to do really well. So
That's awesome. You know, anatomy and physiology was the first course that, because I kind of took anatomy and physiology by accident, honestly, as well. I was actually like a health science major, and I was going to go, I didn't know what I was going to do with my life, and then I enrolled in an anatomy class, and it blew my mind. And like you said, like I became obsessed with it. It was the first course I ever took where like I actually went to the library and studied, and I loved it. Yeah, I mean, I loved it so much, and like it was that point that I was like, well, I guess I have to do something healthcare, and then I kind of fell into nursing, really.
yeah, A&P is like just the funnest class ever.
It really is.
You know?
And that's what like, people say it's so hard, like they hate it, but I mean, I love it. I'm actually thinking about taking it again just for fun, because I think it's, I really think it's awesome. I mean, because you learn things that like, I mean, it blew my mind. It was really like I didn't know the body worked like this type of thing.
Yeah, no, most definitely.
Sweet. So how hard, I mean, what was your experience prior to nursing? Did you work as a CNA or anything else that kind of turned your mind toward nursing?
Yeah, at my high school, they had a like a medical expirations program.
Oh, cool.
So basically, it was like you did it your senior or your junior year, and by the end of it, you had your CNA license.
Oh, wow.
So it was pretty cool. Like it was like they just went over like medical terminology and just different things, like kind of like very basic, you know, for high schoolers. But I was actually working at Chipotle, and I wasn't planning on going into the health field until my mom kind of like coached me to take that, and then ended up loving it. And then when I graduated high school, I just worked as a CNA, and then that's from there on. Now I'm here, I guess.
That's awesome, man.
But yeah.
Before we started talking, you said that your mom is a nurse. But even growing up, you were like, well, I'm not going to do it. I'm like, why didn't you want to do it?
I don't know. I just didn't think about it really. But once I became a CNA, I mean, you're working with, like I started off, you know, in the nursing homes,
Yeah.
and I'm working with like, you know, grandmas, grandpas, you know, and you really start to like love your patients, and you build a relationship with them. You see them every day. So I think that's what kind of made me like want to do it, is I just felt like I had a heart for it, and I enjoyed like working with people in that way. But
That's awesome. And even just like, this is the first time we've actually talked, you know, on the phone or anything. But even just watching your videos, I could tell you have an enormous passion for nursing, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to connect. But I mean, even saying
thanks.
things, yeah, I mean, I can, like saying things like you became obsessed with anat and phys, like I love that, and saying that you start to develop a relationship with your patients, I think that's admirable too. You know, a lot of times in nursing school, you know, they teach you shouldn't get connected with your patients and things like that, and I think there's a point to that. But at the same time, there's patients now that will stay with me forever. You know, you touch their lives and they touch your lives in such a way that that's what keeps you going back to work, because it's a hard job.
yeah, and I think that's like the foundation of like nursing, you know.
Exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
like professionalism is really important, but like, you know, actually caring for the person, you can have both, you know. But I think thanks for saying that, because that's kind of why I'm in nursing for sure.
Good.
But
So how you're in your second semester of nursing school. So thanks for taking the time out of your schedule to even talk. I know it can become obsessive.
no, for sure.
How hard would you say nursing school is?
Okay, nursing school, it's hard to explain. I'd say it's as hard as everyone says it is, but at the same time, it's like it's kind of like the anatomy, you know. Like if you just get obsessed with it, like the only reason you would ever fail it is if you weren't obsessed.
Yeah.
You know, like you just have to give it your all. I mean, besides like life, sometimes life happens and that can take you away from school, because it takes so much time that really all I have time for is nursing school and doing stuff like this, which is kind of nursing related. So
Absolutely, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, and that's what I would say too. I like, because it has to become your life. Like you become like, it's almost like indoctrinating you. You become like a nurse, and once you become a nurse, like you don't really feel like a quote unquote civilian anymore. Like you feel like you're part of this inside group, you know.
Most definitely, yep.
So what would be some tips for transitioning to nursing school? What could people do while in nursing school to kind of get the mentality of a nurse?
I think, like, I'll like talk about Nurse Bass. I was just watching his video, but like in one of his videos, I don't remember what it is, he says, like, you be prepared to make sacrifices. And like, for me, I don't know, some people say this is like, you don't have to do this, but like, I went into nursing school like single, not having really any commitments whatsoever. And there's single moms out there, or like people who have families, and they're able to do just fine. But I think just taking all the distractions out of your life, and just kind of just preparing to donate that time, or dedicate that time, should really help. But that's what I did, and it seems to be working so far. So, did you do anything
like specifically before starting school to do that, or did you make like a mental decision, like, I'm gonna not do these things while I'm in nursing school? Or
yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's hard to like explain. I pretty much just like looked at my life and like what my time was going into, and just decided like, okay, I'm not watching Netflix anymore.
Nice.
Like, I might not listen to the radio even, like because I could listen to like your podcast instead, or like a lecture that day, because all that time adds up. Like for every time I drive home from school, that's like 20 minutes that I could be listening to something that actually is helping and pertaining to what I'm learning. Like that's just more time that I have towards my goal, of getting good grades.
Sure. No, I think you're spot on right there, and I love that, because so much. That's just, I think that's true in life too, right? If you have a goal, eventually you have to kind of realize, okay, is Netflix helping me reach that goal? And I watch Netflix every now and then. I'm not
so do I.
But but you're right. Like if you have a goal, you can use those things to relax and to unwind and things like that. But yeah, where are you putting your time? Like if you're not in nursing school yet, what are you doing with your time to get into nursing school? If you are in nursing school, what are you doing with your time to get those AAs and to succeed? I just
want to say real quick, there's a time and a place for The Walking Dead. It's just in between semesters.
That's right. So I wanted to ask you about kind of some of your motivations for starting the channel, because I don't drink alcohol or anything like that, but when I was in nursing school, there were times I'd come home from class and I would say to my wife, I was like, if I drank right now, I would drink myself into oblivion, to forget, the stress of the teachers, the stress of the clinicals, the grades. So how do you cope? Was the channel a way to kind of cope, or what do you do to like, or do you experience that at all, or not?
Yeah, so there's kind of like two answers to that question. First, the channel is an awesome like thing, as far as like people are just so nice to me all the time, saying nice comments. It totally helps me in nursing school. And it's like, if I were to like mess up, I would have to like post it on the internet, So it's like it kind of keeps me
accountable,
like studying, accountable. But as far as like the stress, like just last Friday, like I got home from school, we had a test, and I did well on the test, but it took like everything out of me. Like I just felt so drained. I just went in my living room, I like laid on the couch for a minute, just didn't do anything, maybe pet my cat, and then I went in the bathroom to brush my teeth, and I accidentally put like hair gel on my toothbrush, like, because my brain was just
gone,
like, so I don't know, and so then I ended up like kind of calling a classmate and just seeing, hey, do you want to go grab ice cream? Because like I feel like I just need to do something and like be a little social for like an hour, and so that's what I ended up doing, and then the next day I felt better, but you spend so much time like alone, like at least I do, because I don't do study groups really, but I just like highlight and study things, and so I think just going out and just talking with someone over ice cream or something really helps. But
no, I think you're right on there too. And one thing that helps me too, and I'm kind of lucky in this, is that my wife works in the healthcare field as well, in the ICU and stuff too. So having that, I can come home from work and tell her like in direct terms what I had to go through at work and things like it. It helps tremendously just having someone you can talk to. So try to be, and I guess my suggestion too would be try to become friends with nursing students and people that like get it, because really like people don't get what we do and see as nurses. Like normal people aren't ever exposed to this type of thing So you really need to find those types of people that you can talk to and stuff.
I totally agree.
Yeah. What are some of the resources you found? You talked about Nurse Bass's channel, and I think he's awesome too. What other resources have you found that have been helpful to you?
I guess just I mean I watch a lot of YouTube, obviously. I think there's some pretty good videos out there. Like I can't think of any specifically besides maybe one that really affected my studying is like one of Nurse Nicole's videos about how to read a textbook effectively. Because it's basically how to like skim your textbook. I do that all the time now instead of like reading. But I don't know, like I said, I did like your audiobook. I thought that was great, just like having all the medications, because those are hard to like pick up. Like I took
hard, yeah.
like I took pharmacology my first semester, but it was like kind of an intro to pharm, and now I have to like relearn everything I learned like as I'm going through med-surg again. So yeah, so I think that's a good resource. I like anything that's like I can put in my headphones or whatever, and I don't know. I just recently found Mighty Nurse, and I was looking through their page, and they have some good stuff on there too, occasionally. But that's pretty much really all that I do, besides like actual books that I buy. Yeah. But
I mean, are you using mostly the books that your school provides, or are you buying extra stuff on Amazon or?
Yeah, I mean, I use these test success books.
Those are awesome. That is I recommend that almost every single blog post I make, because that, like when I read that book, it changed everything for me in nursing school, honestly.
Yep. So I use that one, and then I have like I don't know what author it is, but it's like for my book, it's like the Clinical Companion. It's like a small med-surg book that summarizes everything. But that's pretty much all that I do, I guess.
Is that like the book that comes with your book, like the little book that comes with each med-surg book, or?
I don't know if it didn't come with mine, but it could possibly. Yeah. But it was like $30 used or something.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, I find, because I did that in fundamentals too, that sometimes like the same author who writes the book will put out a more summarized edition. But
interesting. Yeah, and that's one thing that a lot of students complain to me about, is that they have like 4,000 pages to read each night. So I hadn't seen the Nurse Nicole video. I think that would be a really good video for people to watch too, because it's you cannot learn everything, and so I think those condensed manuals and things are the best way to go, I think, as well.
Yeah, I don't know why they're so wordy. I feel like it would be so much better if they just gave us like an outline of exactly what we need to know instead of having to like fish around, you know?
Exactly.
But I guess that's not what they do, so I don't know.
Do you feel like your teachers do a good job like making the courses easy to get and stuff, or?
Yeah, I have some really good teachers. They do like a lot of online lectures that they'll post.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, I'd say they do a pretty good job. Yeah, I like them all. So
good. So right now what clinical are you going to be doing this semester?
So I'm going to be doing my med-surg clinicals come 2 weeks, and then I'm going to be doing my OB and peds later on the other half of the semester.
Do you have any, this is just a random question, how do you feel being a guy doing an OB rotation?
You know, I definitely feel nervous about it, but I feel like I'll feel comfortable in the moment for some reason. I don't know why. I feel like I have good like bedside manner, like I like interacting with people, you know, so I feel like it'll be awkward, but it'll be new, so it'll be like kind of fun and engaging.
Sure.
But it could be weird. I don't know. I haven't gotten there yet. We'll see. But
the one I remember that like getting ready for my OB peds rotation too, and like, I mean, I never had a goal to work in OB peds, so I wasn't really interested in it in the first place. But like, I knew going in as a male nurse, number one, right, and then as a male going in, you know, and examining and doing all those things. But I just kept telling myself like, patients don't feel weird when they have a male OB/GYN. And so I just had to keep telling myself that, like, a lot of women have male OBs, and so as a nurse, I just need to go in there, like you said, with confidence and just, hey, I'm John, I'm your nurse, I'm gonna just do this assessment real quick, and you know.
I'm gonna talk about Nurse Bass just because I talk to him like every day, but I was watching his video, and he said how he did his OB clinicals, and he said what was awkward, and I never really thought about it, was when the husband's in the room, or like the father, and he's like eyeballing you up, like, who's this guy? Why is he here? You know, because he, you know, like everything's new for that person too,
Yeah.
and it's got to be really weird. But I just thought that was kind of interesting. Like maybe I could see that happening.
No, absolutely. And that's, I think, the biggest thing with nursing, and even like as you go into your clinicals for any nursing student or as a brand new nurse, like the patient's putting a lot of confidence in you. So if you go in with confidence, I think that helps get rid of a lot of that fear or that that doubt that the patient might have. You just go in there with confidence and make sure you're never getting in over your head, of course, but go in there with confidence and introduce yourself, and this is what we're going to do. Do you have any questions? I think that helps a lot with those types of situations.
Most definitely.
So what are your plans after nursing school? I mean, where do you see yourself? Where would you like your first job to be? Where do you want to be in 5-10 years?
You know, it's hard to say, but I do have a plan. I'm sure it's subjective to change, but basically, once I get through this program, I'll have my associates, but I'll probably start working and doing online school, like towards my BSN.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully get into like a med-surg or something like that. Or maybe I would go into hospice if I could get into something like through maybe like networking with my mom or something. But after I get done with a year, as long as I didn't have a family at that point, I would really want to try to jump into that travel nursing gig, because that's just an awesome opportunity, I think. And I would just love to like go up and down the coasts and see different things. But
and then after travel, I mean, you want to kind of work med-surg area mostly?
I don't even know. I've just pretty much heard that that's a good starting point.
It is.
So that's what I'll probably try. I had a text, but so I don't know. I mean, I could go anywhere, but I do like hospice though, because I have worked as an aide in hospice a little bit, and I just think that's a really special time. But there's so many areas in nursing that are special, so it could be anything.
No, you're right, and I think that was one of the things that drew me to nursing when I started, because I initially thought like medical school or PA school, and then I don't even know why I initially thought nursing, but when I realized like you only have to work 3 days a week, that's full time. That was nice, and then I learned you can do anything from education to you can even go into law, you can go into and then there's so many areas. I mean, hospice nursing is so vastly different from like hospital nursing, that I think that it's just so, no matter where you work, it's so different. You become very specialized, and that was really neat to me, and that you could kind of jump around between those specialties too every few years was just a huge turn on for me. Yeah,
and I was even thinking maybe get some type of like management degree or like do something like that, because like you said, you could move into like, there's so, like my mom, she does the hospice, but she also works from home now, like doing something with like health insurance, and so there's so many different lifestyles you could live as a nurse, like if you were not wanting to be on the floor anymore or whatever. But
yeah, I think you're spot on too. I mean, I'm sure your mom has counseled you a bit too, but like getting that year or two of med-surg experience and getting it in as much clinical time as you can during that first couple of years, I think is key.
Mm-hmm.
And then travel nursing is awesome. I have 2 children and stuff, but we've still debated with the idea of doing it, because I mean, you can literally every 13 weeks or so you can be in a different state, in a different hospital. It's a really cool gig that they have.
And of course you get paid a little bit more.
You get paid more, and you get housing allowance, and we get travel nurses in my ICU all the time, and they're pretty set up. I mean, most of them are younger and single, but there's a couple that have partners and are traveling around doing it. It's a really cool deal. I mean, you don't get that with other jobs. It's incredible.
Yeah, I didn't know that you could do it as a couple until recently, and I just thought that was pretty insane. Like if I were to like meet like another nurse or something, like we could go and like do that together. That I think that's just like amazing. But
it is really cool. I love it. So I was looking at a couple of your videos. I wanted to, what's your favorite video on your channel? What would be the video you would turn someone to first?
Okay, that's a hard question. I think my favorite video would probably be the one I did with Rachel P. That's just talking about like relationships and dating in nursing school, just because I think that's a cool topic, and I put a lot of work into that one. But But I don't know. It's hard to say. Like I'm trying to think of my videos and I'm like drawing a blank.
Some of the videos that have stood out to me, I think the first. So the video that you have a video poop in my face. I think that's important to talk about.
Yeah.
The how to get into nursing school we talked about. I think that one's really good. Top 10 study tips. That's one of your top
that one
videos.
was cool. I was happy about that one. I had a fun time making it. That was like my third one. But
what's your top 3?
My top 3. Oh man, like I made this 6 months ago. I feel like so it's like.
Or what, just right now, what would you say? Like you're going into your second semester. Have any of your study tips or habits changed from first to second semester?
I feel like they haven't really changed. They've just gotten more developed, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I've just like I don't know. I go to bed on time like most nights. Like whereas before it was like half the time, right? So I don't know. I think as I've gotten through school, like I've been able to like figure out how to incorporate working out now a little better and like some other healthy things. Whereas the first semester, I just like had to throw it all away. Like I couldn't do any of that, you know. But so I don't know. I think I'm just like getting used to like the habits.
Routine, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's important to talk about too. Like you knew you would have to sacrifice, and I think you threw everything into it the first semester, and now you're starting to add back kind of more and more like a normal life, I guess.
Yeah, you know, yeah, that's exactly it.
And then I like your video, This is War. That might be the first one I found of you. And I think that it's a motivational kind of parody of like declaring war on nursing school. I think that's a good video. Yeah,
because that's kind of how I view it. But the thing is, I feel like most people who watch that video are girls, you know, and they just don't think like that. Like
that may be. I guess that might be true.
Right, because again, like Nurse Bash showed that to his wife, and his wife was like almost offended by it, like because it was like I was like dressed all like like the army or whatever.
Yeah.
But
is his wife a student as well, or a nursing nurse? Or?
She works in in labor and delivery.
Okay.
I think. Yeah. Okay.
Interesting. Does he have kids? I haven't really spoken a lot with him.
No, he's just just him and his wife. Yeah.
So I try to talk to people too, because when I did nursing school, like we made a dramatic move across the country. We quit because I started nursing school when I was 27, so I already had a career and everything, working in the business world, and it just like going to work every day and sitting at a desk, I felt like a drone. Like there was no purpose in that life for me. So it was a huge change, and we had just had our baby, and so it was very, very difficult. But yeah, like you said, I mean, it's possible. Like if you go into it realizing like this is, like you said, this is war. Like this is what I'm going to do. This is to change my life, to help other people, and it's doable, I guess, no matter what your situation is. We even had a guy in my class who was married. He was like 65 years old, and he had another career too, and he was just doing this for fun. Like he was like, I just want to be a nurse. It sounds cool. And so he worked his full-time job, and he did nursing school on the side. And I mean, regardless of your situation, it's possible, I guess.
Most definitely. But
have you had any sorry, what were you gonna say?
Oh, I just thought like what made it feel like war to me was just like that people are going to be dropping off, like like everyone goes in ready to succeed, and whether like out of your class, mine's 45 people, there's probably going to be maybe 5 to 10 people who don't make it this semester.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of what made me think about the whole war scenario. But have
you had a couple already?
Yeah, in first semester we only lost 2, which is we were the best semester to come through in a couple of years, actually, like as far as drop rates. And then like it's too early to tell, but they lost about 25% in the class ahead of us.
Wow.
In this semester. So
no, and it does happen. What worked for us in my cohort, we lost some too, of course. I mean, it's just not for everybody. And for some people, I think it's the rigor of it. For some, it's the clinicals. And for some, it's just like you didn't really know what nursing was, and you get in there and you're like, yeah, no thanks.
Yeah, you definitely hear that, like people like second guessing whether they want to be a nurse.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of money and a lot of time to devote to something if you're not convinced of it, I guess. One thing that worked really well for our group is I think we all became pretty good friends. You know, we had a Facebook group where we'd all talk and we'd go out sometimes, and it just becoming friends helped a lot too, because then you don't want to let your friends down and you don't want to let them fail. You want to help them as much as you can.
For sure, yeah, it's very social in nursing school, I'd say.
Yeah, and I think like war too, like you said, people come back from the military and stuff, and they have this camaraderie that you can't get anywhere else. And I think nursing school really develops that same type of connection, I guess.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. So where would you suggest people find you? What's the best place to find you? What's the best place to connect with you?
Yeah, just on YouTube, like just type in youtube.com/NurseMurse, or you can just search me as NurseMurse, and I think I'm pretty easy to find.
Yeah, for sure. And what would be, and like I guess you said the best video for people to start with would be like your study tips video, or
I don't know. I wish I had my videos in front of me.
I got them all up here. I was looking at them before, so
I guess you could just make the suggestion. I really don't know. Like,
yeah, like I like the top 10 study tips, and then I think the ADN versus BSN is good too, because and that would be, I guess, for people thinking about nursing school, that'd be a really good one. And if you're in nursing school, I think the top 10 study tips is helpful, because it's unlike anything else you've ever studied for. It really is, and getting tips from someone who's in there in the trenches, I guess, is a good resource.
Most definitely.
So what would be anything else you want to tell current nursing students, people about to graduate, people about to go into, what would be your parting wisdom for them?
So my parting wisdom would be to enjoy the journey, and it's exciting because, like, us as students, we're figuring out who we are as nurses. We work so hard to get into nursing school. We had to like define ourselves as AB students, pass the entrance exam, and then you get into nursing school and you're right at ground one again, the foundation. And now we get to redefine ourselves again. Becoming, like, whether we're going to be a good or a bad nurse, or we're going to work, like we said, hospice or the ICU or whatever. So the world is our oyster, basically, when it comes to healthcare, and we can go anywhere we want. So I think just hang in there and just keep going and have fun.
I think that's perfectly said. And I guess we don't have to talk too much about this, but really quickly, you said good versus bad nurse. What makes a good or a bad nurse, just in your opinion?
There's a lot of factors that go into that. Some that come to mind, I think, are just taking unnecessary shortcuts. Sometimes, I mean, I'm not a nurse, but I can speak from like a CNA perspective, where a lot of the job, from what I can tell, is time management.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it might be smart to skip out on something at that moment. But then you develop these bad habits. Maybe you're doing things too fast, or you're not doing them right, and then that leads to like infections, or and you just, I don't know, just to do things right. And if you lose the heart for that, then I think you're in trouble. And I think people can learn that early on. So that's why, like, you want to make sure you're assessing your patients,
mm-hmm.
like, for everything. Like, like, don't skimp out on that because you're tired that day, or you have to study, but.
Absolutely. I think that's perfectly said. I think that's probably the best definition of good versus bad. And like you said, nursing is time management, but time management isn't shortcuts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's very well said. Well, if anyone wants to connect with NurseMurse, like you said, go over to youtube.com/NurseMurse. He has a lot of value there. He's adding videos every week or two, and things that are very, very pertinent to people in nursing school. So I want to thank you for coming on. And,
yeah, thanks, John.
Yeah, and all right, I hope you guys enjoyed that episode and you found some value, some ways to really excel this semester, and if anything else, just some motivation to get back to school and hit the books and hit the ground running and just demolish this semester. You guys can do this, and I greatly appreciate you checking out the show. Again, make sure you head over to NRSNG.com/backtoschool, where you can find all the sales that we have going on. All this stuff is going to end on Saturday, so make sure you head over there. You can get some of our books up on Amazon for free, and you can also get the app Deeply Discounted RN Crush. And these are going to be great resources for you while you're in school. So I really want you to head over there.